Hi guys, welcome back to Nyx Reads. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to subscribe to this channel if you love watching bookish content and finding new books to put on your TBR, and don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this format of a video. This is my March wrap up, and I know that it's technically almost time for the April wrap up. I was planning on uploading videos more than just once a week, but for some reason that went the other way. But I'm gonna try my best in the summer to change up my schedule a bit, although I am going to be gone on vacation for the next 3 weeks, so I hope that until then I can edit and pre-film a few videos, so that ideally there's going to be one video a week that's going to be published while I'm away. One or two might actually be travel videos that I just haven't had the time to edit yet. I like to treat this channel as a time capsule, hence the travel vlogs, but yes, this is first and foremost a book channel. I read 8 books in total in March, and most of them are 4 stars and above, so it was honestly an amazing reading month. Stay tuned till the end of the video to figure out how much money I saved by using my library card in March, and also to see me choose a new video from my TBR jar at random to read next. Going from worst to best, and with worst it's really only one book that was a 3 stars, everything else is a 4-star and above. It's Under the Whispering Door by Klune. So the reason I picked this up was because I read The House in the Cerulean Sea. Everybody loved it, me included, but Under the Whispering Door unfortunately just didn't really work out for me. This book is about our main character, Wallace, who unexpectedly passes, and instead of right away going into the afterlife or whatever it is that happens after death, he lands at Charon's Crossing, which is, for normal mortals, it looks like a normal cafe, but for spirits like him, it's actually a place where he meets his reaper and the person who's going to help him cross to the next phase of his, not life, but being. And this is where he contemplates how he lived his life and basically awaits the point where he's ready to move on. And along the way, he meets the people that work and live in this cafe. Amongst them are other people who have passed before, and starts making friends. Wallace was a very closed off, very cold person who was pretty much just living for his work. He was a lawyer before, and as you can imagine, this is the place where his heart suddenly starts to melt, or I should say slowly starts to melt. So here's the thing, if you've read Under the Whispering Door and you intentionally want to pick up the book where you have the exact same flavor of story and feeling that you get from the tone and the characters, then this book is probably for you. But for me, it was a lot of the same, but in a story that was a bit weaker than Under the Whispering Door. I honestly thought that the book felt a bit drawn out because truthfully, there's not a lot of action that's happening. It's really more an exploration of characters and feelings. You have the same type of characters with that innocent sweetness as in the aforementioned book, but in my case, I felt almost emotionally manipulated because I knew that their personality and what they were saying was pretty much a device to melt your heart. It wasn't bad, but it just didn't meet my expectations, unfortunately. If you have read both Under the Whispering Door and The House in the Cerulean Sea, do you feel the same about these books? Next, I have 2 middle grade books that are part of the same series. It's book 2 and 3, in fact. It's Bad at the Waiting Game and Bad at the End of Everything. I really enjoyed these. I gave these both 4 stars. I read the first one, which is called A Boy Called Bat, in the month before, and that was also 4 stars. This series is about Bat, our main character. He is a lovely boy, I think he's under 10 years old, who is on the spectrum of autism, and his mom is a veterinarian, and one day they find the cutest little skunk kit, and they decide to keep the skunk for at least a few weeks before then releasing it back into the wild. When I picked up the first book, I genuinely wanted to keep going in the series because I wanted to know what happens next. I think that the author did such a great job balancing out Bat's experiences as someone who struggles with, for example, social cues, but then also going into the relationship with his mom, his dad who was divorced from his mom, his sister, finding new friends at school, and also even touching on how he behaves in the classroom, how he interacts with his favorite teacher. This is definitely on the younger end of middle grade, but I generally enjoyed these so much. And if you're a middle grade reader, then please pick up this book series. Next, coming in with also 4 stars, is a cozy mystery. It's The Golden Spoon by Maxwell. And in fact, I just uploaded a separate book review on this on my channel, so please feel free to watch that if you're interested in hearing more details. I'll keep this one short. So essentially, this is a cozy mystery where a murder mystery meets the Great British Bake Off. If you know that baking competition show, you will absolutely love this book. The setting of this story is a baking competition show in the US called Bake Week. It is a show with 6 contestants that for 1 week move to this mansion. It's called Grafton Manor in Vermont. So the setting is pretty spectacular, where they're then baking against each other and being judged, and the winner gets the golden spoon. So there's going to be competition. This story is told in different point of views from all the contestants and the judge, and then there's also a murder. I think I read this in 2 sittings or so. It was just such a fun and engaging read. You will have to practice some disbelief, or how do you say it, like suspend your disbelief on this, because there are pretty big plot holes, I would say, when it comes to the mystery part of the section. That's why I'm intentionally categorizing this as cozy mystery, because with cozy mysteries you get away with that, right? You don't have to be hyper realistic. That's why I'm still giving this a great rating, because I was highly entertained. It's being turned into a Hulu show, I heard, which I'm very excited about. I will say though that the actual murder part doesn't really happen until I think 60 or 70% into the book, and before that it's more an exploration of the characters, because in the end of the day everybody has their own agenda on why they're there, obviously. So if you're open to a short cozy mystery, then please pick this up. It was so much fun. Then I read my first ever NetGalley advanced readers copy, which is Ander and Santi Were Here by Jonny Garza. This was a YA contemporary like no other. Truthfully, the reason why I had picked this out was because A, you did need to be approved to read this copy, and I was kind of like, I wasn't sure how NetGalley exactly worked, but I was able to download it right away. And what really reeled me in was the cover. I thought to myself, this is going to be a really good love story. And I was right. In this beautiful story, we have Ander, who is a non-binary young Mexican, also an artist. So they have this placement at, I'm forgetting the name of the school. It's a very important art school in Chicago, but they decided to defer for a while to work on murals around the city, which I think is really cool. And they meet the very handsome Santi, who starts working for their family restaurant. He happens to be an undocumented Mexican person, and that comes obviously with its own struggles. This is not the type of coming of age story where you pretty much just focus on first love, having the first kiss, the first sexual experience. No, these two are, I would say, pretty sexually experienced already. So that was not the focus of the story, which honestly saved me a lot of cringe moments. So huge plus for me. And a big chunk of the story is about Ander finding their voice as an artist. I honestly thought that the conversations that they had with their advisor or with Santi or with their friends about positioning themselves as an artist and what it means to be an artist, and also is there an obligation for them as an artist to only or partly portray art that represents Mexican culture, or is it okay to completely diverge off of that? And what are the expectations of other people, especially Caucasian people, of artists from that heritage? What was also not the topic is that some of the characters were non-binary and queer. Everybody was just allowed to be, which was amazing. We can then focus on what is happening to this couple. The tone of the book and the dialogues is very amusing. It's very confident, and there's a lot of innuendo, which was really funny. I loved it. I loved the characters. What I think could have been done better was the pacing of the story, because I think that some chapters felt like they were dragging on forever, and then some chapters I felt like we were rushing through everything that was happening. Other than that, this is, I think, an amazing YA contemporary with great LGBTQ+ representation. I will definitely look out for more books from this author. Then against all odds, I picked up an Emily Henry book. I read Book Lovers and gave it 4 stars. I have a video up on my channel. It's called, I think, Popular Books That I Won't Read, and in that one I did mention Emily Henry. Well, I guess I was completely wrong because I enjoyed this book so much. I mean, why am I surprised? Everybody loves Book Lovers. Our main character is Nora. She's very successful in her job as a literary agent. And the trope that we're working here is, I guess, enemies to lovers, if you will, because her nemesis in this case is Charlie Lustra, who is an editor who at first turns down one of the new books from her clients, which then I think a year or 2 later, turns out to be a huge best-selling book. Nora's pregnant sister Libby whisks Nora away to this cute village, which is actually the place that inspired this best-selling novel from one of her authors, to have a little vacation there. And it just so happens that Charlie's there as well. Because it is enemies to lovers, you betcha that there's like a lot of banter. But the reason why I enjoyed this book so much is actually because that the romance takes a backseat to everything else that is happening. What impressed me is that, for example, Libby, Nora's sister, who is technically a side character, was very, very fleshed out. I mean, Nora is obsessed with her sister. A lot of the book evolves around their sibling relationship and how it was for them growing up, because it wasn't always easy. And amongst other things, this was also very much a love letter to New York City, even though it takes place somewhere else, I would say. I just loved that it wasn't just Nora and Charlie bantering and pining for each other secretly. It was really also what was happening in their lives separately from each other, and what was happening between Libby and Nora and their relationship. I really enjoyed that a lot, and I found myself always very excited to pick this book up and keep reading. Maybe I need to read Colleen Hoover too, because she was on my list of I'm not gonna read that author or those books ever, but I mean, I liked Emily Henry, so maybe I should give Colleen Hoover a go. Next, with 4.5 out of 5 stars, is We Spread by Iain Reid. A very unusual horror story, I would say. This is a very intimate story about our main character, Penny, who is an elderly woman who lives on her own, but then has to relocate to a group home for the elderly because she just can't take care of herself anymore. This book is a lot about the reality of growing old, especially growing old alone and losing your memory and losing the perception of time and space. There are parts in here that are incredibly unsettling and sad, and the dread that Penny has from losing her autonomy and being dependent on caregivers, it translates really well through the pages, and I think that is a big part that feels very, very heavy in your chest when you read this, because you know that aging is inevitable. So she is in this home for the elderly, but something is off. Something seems wrong, and that's where the horror continues. This is a fairly short book, and I don't want to give too much away, so I will just say that the reason why I docked that 0.5 star is because the ending is a bit ambiguous. I will tell you that. Also, the reason why I docked the star might be why other people give it 5 stars, because it really depends on your taste. This is so well written. It gives you the traditional horror creeps, but also the horror from imagining yourself in her situation when you're older. It is very, very unsettling. My last read for March was a 5 star. This is gonna be a favorite for the year, I'm sure. It's Comfort Me with Apples by Catherynne M. Valente, and this is a horror novella. I'm hesitant to give you the theme because I've seen it in some reviews, so I'm glad that I didn't read the reviews before I started reading this. I recommend you to go in this as blindly as possible. So what the story is about is Sophia. She is a new wife and lives with her husband in, I think it's called Arcadia Gardens, so somewhere in like the suburbs. He is seemingly the perfect husband. She's the perfect wife, but there are some strange things that she wonders about, and the basement that she's not allowed to go into. This felt like a fairy tale horror. Sophia was being portrayed as this delicate little flower. There was a lot of emphasis on like her daintiness, her size, and everything around her seemingly being huge and imposing in a way. But you as the reader instantly you know that something is very, very off. You just can't put your finger on it. And as you progress in the story and you start to understand what the underlying theme is and what the story represents, it's like, okay, wow, that is very, very obvious. Why didn't I see this coming? So that is the reason why I'm actually planning to pick this up again. This book is the perfect positive example for why most horror stories would be better off in a novella format than a big 300+ page novel. This was incredibly effective. It was just, the strangeness of it all really got under your skin, and I just loved it. I loved the theme of this, and it gives you a lot of food for thought, and it made me want to research and read up on what this is based on. Love this, 5 stars. Highly, highly recommend. If you love horror, it is super short. Just go and pick this up, trust me, it's so good. All right, so those were all the books, and the amount of money that I saved from using my library card pre-tax was $117.95 just for the month of March. In case you don't have a library card yet, I highly encourage you to get one. It's probably gonna be for free. And now onto my TBR jar, where I put all the names of the books that are on my bookshelves physically that I haven't read yet. Okay, so let's choose a random one for the next month to read, which I'm gonna take on vacation with me. I am nervous. Okay, let's see. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Oh, wait, do I even have it here? Yes, I do, and I am actually very happy about this because I am in the mood for a thriller, so let me get it. So this is gonna be the next book that I will read, and it is the German translation. So this is also going to fit into my resolution to reading more books in German. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to let me know what books you read in March. What was your favorite book that you read in March? And if you've read any of the ones that I showed you today. Thanks for going through these books with me. I'll speak to you guys next time. Bye.